Welcome to one and all. Myself, Dr. Tarun Prashant, orthopedic surgeon. So today's class is going to be a bit interesting. It's a class on gait cycle. Why did I use the word interesting? Because it fascinates that we as individuals walk on a daily basis in order to commute, in order to travel, in order to mobilize from place to place. But do we really put in a thought on how we walk? Or do we only put in a thought when we are sitting in the OPs, when we are going to look at a patient? Now going on to learning objectives of the presentation. Definition. Definition is of prime importance whenever we do a class on any subject or any topic in order to understand in detail about what it really means and what it really defines. The other objectives of today's class are types of muscle contraction, a normal gait cycle in order to know what is the difference between normal and abnormal, the parameters in gait or is there any in order to assess and to know what is necessarily required in order to assess and go forward during gait analysis. Next, the rockers of the foot during a normal gait cycle. And whenever there's a normal, you need to know the abnormal, or rather the most important part of the class, to know the abnormal gait patterns. Now putting on this picture to you, or rather a poster. Does this ring you a bell? It does for me. It's from one of my favorite films, The Usual Suspects. What can you see from this poster? You can see 5 imposers standing and posing at you, or rather positioning their limbs at particular manners in order to represent themselves. But if you're going to look more intricately at the person on the right, which is Kevin Spacey, you can see how his right part of his body is nothing similar to the left part of his body. You can see that his whole left upper limb is internally rotated. You can see that his whole lower limb is internally rotated. You can see that his hip is slightly adducted, whereas his lower limb or from the knee, it's in valgus. And you can see an in-toeing of his feet. Why is it of importance? Even before I became an orthopedic surgeon, I saw this movie. And the one thing I knew is how important a gait is in order to analyze and to find out about an individual. So this is a picture or another poster of the same movie, wherein you can see how a person imposes that throughout his life that he was walking in an in-toeing gait, and further on you never know whether he is a normal person or is he a person who is having a disability. So this puts back to us how important gait is for a person. How a patient, when he is going to come towards you in your OP, or whenever you're going to see a person in pain, it directly reflects on how he is going to come to you. Be it either he's brought in with an ambulation aid, or is he brought in with a stretcher, or he normally walks to you. Every part of gait is of prime importance. Another picture here to tell how we have evolved. Every person evolves, but in this picture you can clearly see how from a quadruped we have come to a level where we are bipedal, and to the future where it's all going to be robotic and being robotic in bipedal. So how have we changed? We have changed in a huge manner from the way in which we used to use 4 limbs to now using only 2 limbs. So what are the implications due to this? You need to know that locomotion is an important animal trait, and that was one of the most important thing which played in the reflection of the whole cycle of survival. You need to know that quadrupeds are inherently fast and stable. Why? Because their center of mass is located under the trunk, which is inside the base of support. Being in the middle of the base of the support, it helps and aids in order to counteract or act in between the trunk and the extensors in order to propulse further. Whereas humans, we are bipedal. So here I'll be drawing how a quadruped and a bipedal is different. So you can see that in a quadruped that the limbs are going to be at the middle or at the base. You can see that the center of mass falls here. Whereas in case of a bipedal, we have our upper limbs separate. So the center of mass falls almost in between the base of our foot, whereas it doesn't lie in the trunk. So the reason why the quadrupeds are more faster than us is because that trunk works faster in order to move them in front, and the back muscle pushes or extends when the posterior part of the limbs come towards the front. The advantage that we have are upper limbs, which can be used by us in order to carry on our daily activities along with locomotion. Hence,